Outdoor adventures often push people to their limits, but behind the thrill and beauty of nature, there are stories of real tragedies. In this video, we'll look at 5 more of the worst deaths in the history of outdoor adventures. These are real stories of people who faced extreme conditions and paid the ultimate price. It was May 21, 2024, a freezing morning on Mount Everest. Daniel Paul Patterson, a 40-year-old personal trainer from Wakefield, had just achieved his lifelong dream. At 4:40 a.m., he and his Sherpa guide, 23-year-old Pas Tenji, reached the summit of the world's highest peak, standing 8,849 meters above sea level. This moment was the culmination of weeks of relentless effort and determination. But what should have been a triumphant descent turned into a tragic mystery when Daniel and Pas Tenji disappeared on the treacherous mountain. Daniel wasn't just a climber. He was a dedicated partner, son, and co-owner of Wakefield CrossFit, known for his kindness and commitment to others. This climb was personal. He had taken on the challenge to honor a late gym member, Jenny Muston, and managed to raise 10,000 pounds for her family. Despite his dedication, the harsh reality of Everest's dangers ultimately claimed him. The journey began weeks earlier when Daniel joined a group of 15 climbers led by experienced guide David Hugo Ayaviri Quispe of 8K Expeditions. Among the team was Pas Tenji, an experienced Sherpa who had successfully summited Everest twice before. Daniel documented every step of his journey on social media, sharing updates and photos that showcase the grueling but rewarding process. In one post, he described the bustling base camp as a mini-city at 5,364 meters. Just days before his summit attempt, he expressed his anticipation, writing, "Waiting impatiently for a summit window." The final push to the summit began under ideal weather conditions. On May 21st, Daniel and Pas Tenji navigated the dangerous death zone, an area where oxygen levels drop significantly, making each step a battle. Reaching the summit was a monumental achievement, but descending from Everest's peak often proves more dangerous than the climb itself. Trouble began on the descent near the Hillary Step, a steep rock face at 8,790 meters infamous for its bottlenecks and proximity to a sheer drop. That morning, the area was crowded with climbers navigating icy ledges. Somewhere between the summit ridge and South Summit, disaster struck. A cornice of hardened snow and ice collapsed, sweeping several climbers, including Daniel and Pas Tenji, down the Kangshung face. Rescuers managed to save 3 climbers, but Daniel and Pas Tenji were not among them. Back in the UK, Daniel's partner, Bex Woodhead, had been closely following his updates. When they stopped, her concern turned to panic. As news of the incident emerged, Bex launched a GoFundMe campaign, raising over £130,000 to fund helicopter searches and rescue operations. Describing Daniel as an adventurous and kind soul, her plea resonated with many. "Time is critical," she urged, seeking to cover the immense cost of the mission. Search teams combed the remote Kangshung face by air and on foot, but the area's extreme altitude and harsh conditions made the task nearly impossible. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of Daniel or Pas Tenji was found. Global Rescue, an organization initially involved, eventually withdrew, citing the region's inaccessibility. Undeterred, Bex continued seeking help, keeping supporters updated and expressing gratitude for the overwhelming support. The tragedy also underscored a growing problem on Everest: overcrowding. In recent years, the number of climbers attempting the summit has surged, leading to congestion in critical areas like the Hillary Step. Over 450 climbers, along with their Sherpa guides, attempted the ascent from Nepal's side this season alone. Experts have long warned that overcrowding increases risks, as climbers waiting in freezing conditions burn through limited oxygen supplies and face exposure to frostbite and altitude sickness. The dangers are compounded by climate change, which has made weather conditions on Everest more unpredictable. Nepalese authorities have tried to address these issues by limiting permits, but the mountain remains unforgiving. Just weeks before Daniel's climb, 2 Mongolian climbers went missing after summiting without guides. and their bodies were later found in separate locations above 8,000 meters. As weeks passed, hope of finding Daniel and Pastenji alive faded. The area where they disappeared, known as the Death Zone, is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. Surviving a fall there is rare, and the extreme cold and lack of oxygen make rescues nearly impossible. 8K Expeditions, the company that organized Daniel's climb, expressed their sorrow, stating, "Despite exhaustive search efforts, we regret to confirm that Daniel and Pastenji could not be recovered. Our thoughts are with their families during this difficult time." It was September 29, 2012, a cool autumn day in Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park. Dr. Toni Henthorn, a 50-year-old eye surgeon from Denver, was hiking with her husband, Harold Henthorn, to celebrate their 12th wedding anniversary. By the end of the day, Toni's life was tragically cut short, and what seemed like an accidental fall soon revealed hidden motives and troubling details. Toni, born on January 10, 1962 in Jackson, Mississippi, grew up in a loving Christian family. She was highly accomplished, graduating with honors from the University of Mississippi Medical Center in 1988. As a skilled ophthalmologist, she was respected in her field and performed advanced surgeries like LASIK and cataract removal. Beyond her professional success, Toni was a devoted wife, a caring mother to her 7-year-old daughter, Haley, and an active member of her church community. Toni met Harold Henthorn in the late 1990s through a Christian dating website. Harold, a Colorado native, came across as charming and adventurous. They married on September 30, 2000, and settled in Denver. Harold often appeared as the perfect husband, planning romantic outings and family activities. But as time passed, his actions raised concerns among Toni's family. The hike up Deer Mountain on September 29, 2012, was supposed to be a surprise anniversary getaway. Harold claimed he had carefully planned it to create a special moment for Toni. However, investigators later learned he had scouted the trail at least 9 times before that day. During the hike, the couple paused near a steep cliff to enjoy the view. Harold said Toni had moved close to the edge to take a photo when she slipped and fell, dropping about 130 feet to the rocks below. Harold's behavior during the emergency call quickly raised eyebrows. While speaking with dispatchers, he appeared unusually calm and even offered to pay for a helicopter rescue. However, the rugged terrain made this impossible, and he had to wait for help. His tone and actions seemed inconsistent with someone experiencing such a tragedy, and paramedics later questioned whether he followed CPR instructions properly. Initially, Toni's death was considered an accident, but her family had doubts. They had always been wary of Harold, finding him controlling and secretive, especially about finances. Investigators later discovered a map of the park and Harold's belongings, with the trail marked and an X near the spot where Toni fell. Combined with his earlier visits to the area, this suggested a calculated plan. Harold also stood to gain $4.7 million from Toni's life insurance policies, for which he was the sole beneficiary. Despite having no visible job, Harold maintained a comfortable lifestyle, relying heavily on Toni's income. These financial details deepened suspicions. Further investigation uncovered disturbing similarities to the death of Harold's first wife, Sandra Lynn Henthorn, in 1995. Harold claimed Lynn died while helping him change a flat tire on a remote road when their car slipped off the jack and crushed her. Like Toni, Lynn had a life insurance policy with Harold as the sole beneficiary. Both deaths occurred under circumstances where Harold was the only witness. In 2015, Harold went on trial for Toni's death. Prosecutors presented evidence of his inconsistent accounts, suspicious behavior, and financial motives. Photos from the hike showed Toni holding binoculars, which were never found, raising questions about whether evidence was tampered with. Witnesses described Harold as manipulative, and friends recalled Toni expressing discomfort with his controlling nature. After 10 hours of deliberation, the jury found Harold guilty of first-degree homicide. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The verdict brought some closure to Toni's family, who had fought tirelessly for justice, but their grief over her loss remains. Following Harold's conviction, authorities reopened the investigation into Lynn's death, believing there might be enough evidence to file additional charges. Harold's actions appeared to follow a chilling pattern of planning fatal incidents disguised as accidents. Tony's daughter, Haley, now lives with her uncle, Dr. Barry Bertolet, and his wife. Though she is reportedly adjusting well, the loss of her mother and the truth about her father's actions will likely leave lasting emotional challenges. It was August 28, 2020, in Longyearbyen, Svalbard, Norway. Johan Jacobus Kuta, a 38-year-old seasonal worker from the Netherlands, was completing his second season managing a local campsite. Johan loved the serenity of Svalbard's Arctic wilderness. However, this remote area, about 800 miles from the North Pole, is also home to polar bears, which pose a constant danger to residents and visitors. The risks of polar bear encounters in Svalbard are widely known, with warnings and safety precautions posted throughout the region. Despite these dangers, Johan, like many others, was drawn to the Arctic's untouched beauty. But on this night, the wilderness became dangerous. Around 4 a.m., while Johan slept in his tent at the campsite near Longyearbyen, a polar bear entered the area. This campsite, popular with tourists and seasonal workers, also housed 6 other campers that night, including individuals from Germany, Norway, Finland, and Italy. The calm Arctic night was shattered by the arrival of the bear, identified later as a 3-year-old male. Polar bears usually hunt seals on sea ice. However, due to shrinking ice caused by environmental changes, they are increasingly forced to search for food near human settlements. This bear, likely starving, targeted Johan's tent. It tore through the fabric and dragged him out, causing severe injuries. Johan's belongings, including his sleeping mat, were scattered across the rocky ground, while bloodstains marked the site of the attack. The other campers, awakened by the chaos, quickly assessed the situation. Although firearms and other protective measures are recommended in Svalbard, the group could only call for help and attempt to intervene from a distance. Authorities arrived quickly and found Johan alive but critically injured. Despite their efforts to save him, Johan succumbed to his injuries shortly after being rescued. This was the first fatal polar bear encounter in Svalbard since 2011, when a British student lost his life in a similar incident. The bear responsible for the attack was tracked down by locals and fatally shot near the airport in Longyearbyen. Authorities later confirmed this was the same bear seen scavenging near town and breaking into cabins earlier in the week. Photographs from the aftermath revealed the severity of the incident. Johan's tent, torn and damaged, stood as a grim reminder of the dangers of living in polar bear territory. The 6 other campers were unharmed physically but deeply shaken. They were treated for shock at a local hospital and later released. In a statement, the group expressed their sorrow, saying, "We need peace to mourn our friend who has passed away. We are grateful to the people of Longyearbyen and the governor for their support during this tragic time." Local authorities launched an investigation into the incident, reviewing the safety measures at the campsite and the bear's behavior leading up to the attack. Deputy Governor Sylvie Elveda emphasized the importance of staying vigilant in polar bear country and taking every precaution to ensure safety. Svalbard, with its population of around 3,000 people and approximately 1,000 polar bears, has faced an increase in human-wildlife conflicts. Polar bears, protected since 1973, are struggling to survive as their natural hunting grounds vanish due to climate change. Forced to spend more time on land, they are increasingly coming into contact with humans. John Ars, a polar bear researcher, explained the challenges these animals face. At this time of year, polar bears have difficulty finding food. Without ice in their main hunting areas, they have less access to seals and spend more time on land searching for alternative sources of sustenance. The local community mourned Johan's death, remembering him as a dedicated worker. His passing underscores the balance between humans and wildlife in the Arctic, a place where nature's unpredictability remains ever present. It was February 6, 2000, in New Hampshire's White Mountains. Guy Waterman, a 67-year-old conservationist, writer, and mountaineer, set out on what would be his final journey up Mount Lafayette. Known for its rugged beauty and tough conditions, the mountain was a fitting place for a man who had dedicated his life to preserving wilderness ethics. That day, Guy made the difficult decision to end his life surrounded by the natural world he loved so deeply. Guy left letters for his loved ones explaining his choice. He hiked a familiar trail and exposed himself to the harsh winter near the summit, bidding farewell to the wilderness he had passionately defended. On February 11th, 5 days later, his body was found by friends under snowy, windy conditions. His passing left many reflecting on his life, his contributions, and the struggles he endured. Born on May 1, 1932 in New Haven, Connecticut, Guy was the youngest of 5 children. His father, Alan, was a founding member of the National Science Foundation, creating an environment of high expectations. Though Guy excelled academically, the pressure to meet his father's achievements often weighed heavily on him. As a teenager, Guy showcased his many talents. He mastered jazz piano, memorized works of Milton, and graduated with honors from George Washington University in 1953 with a degree in economics. During this time, he married his high school sweetheart, Emily Morrison, and they had 3 sons, William, John, and James. Guy initially thrived as an economist and speechwriter, working with the U.S. Senate Minority Policy Committee and later General Electric. Despite his success, he struggled with personal dissatisfaction and turned to alcohol, which strained his marriage to Emily. In 1963, mountaineering became a turning point for Guy after reading about it in Sports Illustrated. The activity helped him quit drinking and gave him a new sense of purpose. He shared this passion with his sons, climbing and teaching others the art of mountaineering. By 1970, Guy's marriage to Emily ended. He later found love with Laura Johnson, a fellow climber and editor. They married in 1972 and embraced a simple lifestyle in Vermont, building a cabin without electricity or plumbing. Together they farmed, wrote, and explored the wilderness. Guy and Laura co-wrote influential books like Backwoods Ethics and Wilderness Ethics, promoting minimal impact practices that later became part of the Leave No Trace movement. They also co-authored Forest and Crag and Yankee Rock and Ice, detailing the history of hiking and climbing in the Northeast. Guy became a mentor to climbers, inspiring many with his commitment to preservation. He achieved impressive feats, including climbing all 48 of New Hampshire's 4,000-foot peaks in winter, solo and off-trail, showcasing his skill and love for the mountains. Despite his achievements, Guy faced heartbreaking personal losses. His oldest son, William, lost a leg in a train accident in 1969 and disappeared 4 years later, presumed dead. In 1981, John died while climbing Denali in Alaska. These tragedies left Guy deeply affected, and he coped by retreating into his philosophy of self-reliance and simplicity. In the months before his death, Guy began preparing for the future. He ensured Laura would have a new home and took steps to secure her well-being. Though Laura knew of his intentions, she respected his choice despite the emotional toll it took. On February 6, 2000, Guy ascended Mount Lafayette one final time. Alone on the mountain, he faced the freezing temperatures, a deliberate decision that reflected his philosophy of living and dying with intention. His passing was a deeply personal and thought-out act, marking the end of a life dedicated to both the mountains and his principles. After Guy's death, his legacy lived on through his contributions to wilderness preservation. Alongside Laura, he helped shape ethical guidelines for outdoor recreation, emphasizing respect for nature. His advocacy for Leave No Trace practices remains a vital part of conservation efforts today. To honor Guy's memory, Laura and his friends founded the Waterman Fund, a nonprofit dedicated to protecting alpine environments in the northeastern United States. The fund awards the Guy Waterman Alpine Steward Award to individuals who exemplify commitment to preserving the wilderness he cherished. Guy's life, though marked by profound challenges, continues to inspire conservationists and adventurers to protect the natural world. It was August 15, 2024, on Tegelberg Mountain in Bavaria, Germany, Natalie Sticheva, a 23-year-old gymnast from Czechia, was exploring the area near the famous Neuschwanstein Castle, a landmark that inspired Disney's Sleeping Beauty. Natalie was adventurous, passionate about gymnastics, and loved sharing her life on social media. She was accompanied on this trip by her boyfriend David and 2 friends. On this particular day, Natalie wanted to capture a memorable selfie with the castle in the background. She positioned herself close to the mountain's edge for the perfect shot. According to a friend who preferred to stay anonymous, one of Natalie's legs appeared to slip, or a part of the rocky edge might have broken. Tragically, she fell approximately 262 feet down the mountain. The area where Natalie fell was known for its difficulty and danger, as described by local authorities. Despite the severity of her fall, Natalie survived initially and was found with critical injuries. She was airlifted to the hospital for treatment, and her family and friends clung to hope. However, after 6 days, it became evident that her brain injuries were irreversible. On August 21st, her family made the difficult decision to let her go peacefully. Natalie was a celebrated athlete in Czechia, admired for her skills and dedication. She had recently begun coaching young gymnasts and inspiring the next generation. Her gymnastics club, so-called Pribram Sports Gymnastics, shared their grief in a heartfelt statement. With heavy hearts, we announce that our dear friend, gymnast and coach Natalka Stichova has passed away due to a tragic accident. She fought bravely but left us on August 21st at 5:30 a.m. Natalka brought joy to everyone she met, and that's how we will always remember her. Our deepest condolences to her family and loved ones. To honor her memory, we invite you to light a candle at our gymnasium. Natalie's mother also posted a moving tribute on Instagram. She was incredible, and we will never stop loving her. I am proud to have called her my daughter, my dream girl. She taught me so much, and I wish she could teach me more. She was an amazing sister, and her siblings will always cherish her memory. Natalie's tragic fall sheds light on the risks of taking photos in dangerous places. Her story reminds us of the potential dangers of prioritizing the perfect shot over personal safety. Similar incidents have happened worldwide. For example, a young woman in Myanmar fell at a waterfall while taking selfies and was swept away by the current. Another devastating event occurred in the same area near Neuschwanstein Castle in June of the previous year. A Michigan man, Troy Bowling, attacked 2 young women, Eva Liu and Kelsey Chang, at a popular viewing spot. Bowling attempted to harm Eva and pushed both women into a ravine. Eva did not survive, and Bowling was later sentenced to life for his actions. Natalie's story leaves many questions unanswered. What if she had chosen a safer location for her photo? What if she had decided against taking the selfie at all? While these questions remain, her vibrant legacy lives on through her social media posts, which showcased her adventurous spirit and passion for gymnastics. Her family and friends remember her as a shining light, spreading joy wherever she went. Although her life was tragically cut short, Natalie's memory continues to inspire those who knew her. Let her story be a reminder of the importance of caution and safety. Life is precious and no photo is worth risking it.